So today I'm going to be sharing with you my 2020 self-reflection. I've been wanting to do like a self-reflection type of thing for a while now, but I've never figured out how to do it in a more structured way. One day I saw my friend Ashley's video, also known as lmao on here, and she shared with us on how she self-reflects and the template that she uses and has been using for a few years now, and I thought it was something really cool and I wanted to use it. I'm going to be using that format for my self-reflection this year, and what better year to self-reflect, am I right? So if you want to check out her video, I'll link it down below. I think it's really helpful. Give it a look. Let's self-reflect together, shall we? So the first part is impressions. The first question is, what are your impressions for this past year? And honestly, it was complete and utter chaos. I don't think I know anyone that hasn't had somewhat of a rough year. I think it was pretty rough for a lot of people, just due to the circumstances of everything. The themes of the past year, definitely in a nutshell, I would have to say is a lot of loss, a lot of rebuilding community, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of looking inward, a lot of thinking and processing and questioning a lot of aspects of my own life, but also just like the things around me. How I felt about the past year, it was definitely tough, but I think allowed for a lot of growth and reflection. I think I did a lot of more inner work than I've ever done in any year. I experienced a lot of tough experiences, some apathy, but also regaining myself and restructuring my growth and what direction I want to go, not just with career or creativity and like the outward stuff, but restructuring the direction of my perspective, if that makes sense. And also redefining relationships and the ones that are worthwhile to me, ending ones that don't serve me anymore, and then nurturing the ones that do. Second question is, what happened around you? And most notably, I would have to say a lot of loss, not only physically a lot of loss, but emotionally and mentally a lot of loss. But, on the flip side comes with a lot of support. The third question is, what changed about your situation? So I moved 2 times during quarantine, which is more than I would have liked, but things happen and I got through it. But I moved 2 times this year. I have to learn how to navigate life after ending a long-term relationship, which is the first time I'm kind of navigating that, but I think I'm handling it pretty well, all things considered. And another thing is learning how to set boundaries for myself and learning how to put myself first, because I feel like throughout this year I've learned that I don't do that. With everything that's culminated throughout this year, I think I've learned a lot about boundaries, not just physical boundaries, but emotional and mental boundaries. What am I proud of? Honestly, just being able to survive this year is a huge accomplishment in itself. I don't really think anyone needs to just accomplish anything besides that this year. It's been rough. Cheers to everyone for surviving this year, to be honest. And the things that I'm glad that I've achieved are, I'm kind of glad that I achieved a lot at work with managing multiple projects, especially during such a tough time, especially in the beginning of it too. Work was definitely impacted by COVID, but also when it picked up again, being able to manage all that while being in the situation that we are in. And I'm also really glad that I achieved being content with myself. I think for a long time, I've always been chasing something, like a feeling of happiness or a sense of accomplishment. But I think this year, even though things have just kind of plateaued, I think I'm more content than ever. So that's something that I'm really proud of. I enjoyed reconnecting with friends. finding ways to connect during the pandemic. So, you know, Zoom calls, working out with each other virtually, doing virtual hangouts, being on phone calls with friends that, you know, I haven't talked to in a while, and spent a lot of time watching TV shows and making food and just like simple things, I think. What went wrong this past year? So many things went wrong this year. A lot of things went wrong this year. A lot of, like, in every sector of my life. Career, love, friendships, things happened. And more specifically, what were the hardships were just working through a pandemic, losing friendships and relationship, and, you know, trying to stay afloat and sane during a time where not much is happening and so much is happening at the same time. So finding that balance between staying afloat but also like grounding yourself is a lot. What went wrong? I mean, I feel like once everything kind of hit in March, things got a lot more difficult. The deeper we kind of got into it, I think when the world became standstill is when like everyone started to kind of just stop and catch their breath from doing everything and like really looking at themselves and their lives and like what's around them. I think that's kind of what went wrong. And I wouldn't even say things went wrong. I think just people realize things, you know, like you just like start realizing things. But what did you learn from these challenges? Well, first of all, I learned that I'm resilient and that I need to prioritize myself more and set more boundaries for myself. And I learned about who's important to me in my life, and my support system is what keeps me sane and afloat, and that I'm so grateful for the people that I have around me. For the second question about how I've learned or how I've grown as a person, basically learning how to navigate more of my interpersonal relationships and learning how to communicate more and more effectively, and learning what my boundaries are and what I need from people and what I can give to people. Learning that sometimes you can't control the things that happen around you. I've always had a problem with wanting to control everything, but I think that's just kind of like innate in a lot of people, that they just want to control their own situation. But, you know, I learned that sometimes you just gotta let it be. Like, it is what it is sometimes, and it be like that, you know? So I just have to learn how to let go. Who did you surround yourself with this year? I surrounded myself with really good friends, most notably my roommates, my apartment mates, Jonah and Gabe. I'm forever grateful for them, because I think without them, I would have been really lonely this year without their company. And even though most of my support group wasn't physically around me, knowing that I have people to call or connect with or text, I think really helped comfort me, knowing that I'm not really alone. So I'm forever grateful for them too. And also my family. I wasn't able to see them as often as I usually do. Knowing that they're there and phone call away or just a 20-minute drive away too has been really comforting to know. Second question in this part is who was there? And basically everyone that I kind of mentioned before, but my roommates, my coworkers, my childhood friends, reconnecting with college friends, and my family. And who did I care about? Literally everyone that I just mentioned above. What were the emotions that you experienced this year? Exasperation. I think that's the main emotion this year, is just exasperation. A mixed bag of emotions of sadness, anger, apathy, but also feeling content and gratefulness and appreciation, but also disappointment. The most frequent emotion is exasperation, but also I think another prominent feeling is gratefulness and appreciation, because more than ever, I think I'm just really grateful for the things that I have and the people I have, the situation that I'm in, because it definitely could be worse. What would you like to improve on? As mentioned before, I would like to improve on how I can balance being selfish, putting myself first, and being really like strong about my boundaries, but also selflessness, and how to give and listen and be more present for others. I'd also like to learn on how to let go more easily and lose the need to feel in control all the time. I feel like I have a really hard time letting go of things and letting go of control, so I would like to improve on that. And part 9 is an audit on certain parts of your life. There are certain categories that I will go through and you have to rate yourself and then explain. The scale is 1 to 5. 1 is unfulfilled and 5 is fulfilled. So starting with health and fitness, I would probably rate it a 3.9. I started my fitness journey before COVID, so starting at the end of last year, and I kept going until the pandemic hit and everything shut down. So I had to learn ways to adapt during lockdown and adapt fitness and exercise without the gym. I would love to feel more motivated and push myself harder in this realm. Second part is friends and community. I'm rating this a solid 4 because I'm so incredibly grateful for the friends and the community that I have around me. They're really the reason why I've been able to push myself through this year, and you know, of course I like feel lonely still sometimes, but I know that I have a support system around me when I need it. The next part is love and relationships, and I don't really know because there is nuance to this one. If we're going on the relationship I have with myself, that's a 4 because I love myself. Like that vine of the kid that's like, I know I look like a burnt chicken nugget, but I love myself.
You know what? I love myself. Even though I look like a burnt chicken nugget, I still love myself.
But, you know, I fairly recently got out of a long-term relationship. I wouldn't say I'm like not fulfilled or I like don't feel fulfilled, but like technically would it be a 0 because I don't have a relationship? I don't know. Because the love I have for myself has always been there and it's always been fulfilling for me regardless. So I don't know how to rate this. But if we're going by like having a relationship, I would like to be at a 4 or 5 here in terms of a romantic relationship one day. For creativity and adventure, I would say 3.5 because I felt like this year was so much about surviving that I left a lot of my creative endeavors behind or just on hold, or I try to restart it and it falls off. But I'm definitely trying to change that. I'm hoping that it will be a 4 or 5 with me continuing to make YouTube videos. So with family, I would put 3 or 4 depending on the day. I mean, I love my family, but I do have an interesting relationship with them. You know, I wish they weren't the way that they are sometimes, but they are important to me. So, you know, sometimes I do wish that the relationship that I had was closer and stronger and more transparent, but I am still not sure how to navigate that. If you relate, you kind of like understand. Like, you want to be closer with them, but like they are the way that they are, so it's kind of hard to do it. For career, definitely a solid 4. I'm pretty happy with where I am career-wise. You know, with 2020, I think it made it feel like it plateaued a little bit because of the way it affected work, and it made it feel a little stale and unfulfilling. But, you know, if I look at the big picture, I really can't complain. I'm really grateful to have the job that I do in a workplace that supports my hobbies and actually encourages a better work-life balance and flexibility. So like I said, it can be worse, and I'm actually really grateful for the job that I have. So for money and finances, I would rate it a 3.75 because I am grateful for what I have, because I know that I have some privileges here with the stimulus check being actually like extra money for me. I didn't need that money. I know that like that's a privilege that not many people have. Would I like to be paid for my job? Of course. I think I should be paid more for my job, but you know, I think that's just kind of like a general sentiment for everyone working, that they just want to be paid more. But I'm pretty happy with what I have, but also wouldn't hurt to have more. And the last part of the audit is about emotional well-being. Solid 3 here. There are definitely ups and downs this year, but I think having these dynamic emotions has fulfilled me in a way because I've been able to experience these emotions. I'm kind of glad that I've had more emotions of contentness, I think, rather than like an overall negative feeling for this year. Obviously, there are some things that prevented me from really being emotionally fulfilled. For sure could have been better. But like I said, I think this year I was pretty content with everything. Just solid middle ground 3. And what am I looking forward to next year? I'm optimistic about this next year for my own personal growth. I'm looking forward to learning more about myself and growing as a person. I'm really happy with who I am already and who I've becoming, and I'm just really excited to continue the journey and looking forward to hopefully seeing a sense of normalcy again. We'll see, fingers crossed. Also just looking forward to new opportunities. And then the last question of this self-reflection is, what would you like to happen? Most importantly, I think I would love new opportunities for my creative endeavors. I would love to keep making videos for YouTube and, really committing myself to this content journey again. It'd be really cool if things could happen for this channel. So with that, this has been my 2020 self-reflection. Thank you for joining me as I look back and look inward about my year. Please share, if you would like, what you've learned this year, the things that you've realized this year. I know it's been a tough one for a lot of us. Hopefully 2021 will be okay. Keeping expectations low, but still kind of staying optimistic. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.